President Obama's messaging is changing. Last night, the president used several words and phrases he has been reluctant to employ: terrorism, radicalization, extremist. But many people are questioning whether some of the president's words about what he's doing to keep the country safe are actually true. Correspondent Kevin Corke looks at that tonight from the White House.
Good evening.
In his address to the nation, President Obama laid out an evolving four-point plan to confront what he called the latest phase in the terror threat. Step one, continue to hunt down terrorists.
In Iraq and Syria, airstrikes are taking out ISIL leaders. Heavy weapons, oil tankers, infrastructure.
The president's claim is true. Coalition airstrikes have targeted oil tankers throughout the Levant, reducing ISIS's ability to sell oil on the black market. And just today, the Pentagon confirmed that the head of ISIS in Libya was killed in a recent U.S. airstrike, the administration touting its success.
This is testament to the ongoing efforts of the administration and the Department of Defense to apply significant pressure to extremist organizations around the world who are seeking to do harm to the United States.
Step two, continue to train and equip Iraqi and Syrian forces.
In both countries, we're deploying special operations forces who can accelerate that offensive. We've stepped up this effort since the attacks in Paris.
That's partially true. Defense Secretary Ash Carter did recently announce the deployment of dozens of U.S. special operators to Iraq and Syria to go after ISIS leaders and to conduct raids similar to the one that killed Osama bin Laden. But after the failed Syrian training program and thousands of coalition airstrikes, ISIS-controlled areas still span the region from Syria to Iraq.
There's not a snowball's chance in hell we're going to destroy ISIL in Iraq and Syria before he leaves office. There's no ground game inside of Syria.
Step three, the president said the U.S. would work with allies to disrupt ISIS plots and cut off their financing. The jury is still out on that plan. The president told French President Francois Hollande that the U.S. would, quote, step up its intelligence coordination, but there's still no evidence yet that it's paid off. Step four, pursue ceasefires and a political resolution to the Syrian war.
Doing so will allow the Syrian people and every country, including our allies, but also countries like Russia, to focus on the common goal of destroying ISIL.
Again, only partial credit. While the president has conducted bilateral meetings with the presidents of Russia and Turkey, and Secretary of State John Kerry continues to push for a January 1 agreement, there's no guarantee that Moscow, for example, will change its course and end support for the Assad regime. Bret, expect another meeting on the Syrian conflict later this month in New York at the UN. I should also point out today the president had a very private lunch with his former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. That lunch described by White House officials, Bret, as being mostly social.
Kevin Corke live on the North Lawn. Kevin, thanks.